Welcome to the 24th episode of our Raw Talks podcast. Today we have the absolute honor to introduce our detoxification teacher, Dr. Robert Morse. And I mean, I just can't, it's so amazing that you are here. I have to say, before you introduce yourself, I have to say that this is your teachings was the first healing modalities that I stumbled upon when I came to Thailand. So that was the first thing I started to do, and that absolutely changed my life. So this is big for me personally to talk about this.
I'll give you a hug. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. So welcome to the show.
I'm very, very honored to be with you guys. Truly. I love people in healing centers and getting in and helping those individuals open up. I mean, you talked about emotions. You know, this is a big deal. And that drives the adrenal glands. And so many people can't get well because of their adrenal glands. I've had neurological, like spinal cord injuries, not get well because of their adrenal glands, their emotional traumas. And everybody else, you can regenerate spinal cord injuries. There's nothing you can't cure. So when you can't get someone well, man, that's where you're digging. You guys are doing great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, so this is super exciting because the detox protocols and everything is the foundation of what we do. And then we add on all the other modalities on top.
Sure.
So for those who don't know you, who are you and what are you up to in the world?
Ghostwriter, probably. I don't know. You know what? I'm some God man coming out of the stars, basically. Now, you know, I taught out-of-body travels back in the early 70s and stuff like that. I was more spiritually thinking. But at the same time, as I was growing with learning about how you leave your body and how you work and become more awake, I also was raw foodist. I got information about the natural hygienic people, you know. And so I said, well, I know other animal cooks their food. That makes sense. I don't know if any animal cooks their food before they eat it. Why do we? You know, little simple thing, little zinners like that, right? And so I went into a journey, but then I got to looking and say, you know, man's not a herbivore. He's a frugivore. And so Carrington was the only one, I think, in the natural hygienic community that really brought out fruitarianism. Well, I was being spiritual. I was going to breatharianism. I wanted to live off the spirit, the prana, the life force, whatever you wish to call that essence, right? And I was there. I was down to one mono fruit. I was down to one oranges, and I was just going to do oranges. I did those for almost a year, and then I was going to drop them off and just breathe. Well, I didn't make it. But because when you go on fruit, that is truly man's food, your energy levels shoot the roof. Your inflammation comes out of your body. Your joints rebuild. Your muscles become extremely strong, and you start feeling like a totally different being. Your mind quiets, your awareness pops, your emotions become strong, and it's amazing the journey that you can go on. And you guys are taking people down that road. It's a beautiful road to go on.
Yeah, it's so Simba hasn't had as much issues on the physical level that I've had. So I had low thyroid. I was on tons of medication. They put me on steroids. My energy levels was down the drain, and it was awful. So I had to do a lot of physical cleaning. But so I've done years of detoxification, and now I feel amazing. I have some stuff left, but as soon as I start eating the cooked food, like the energy goes down, the pain goes up. It's like I can still feel the things that I need to work through. So now I have decided to go on at least a 6 months, maybe longer fruit diet. And
personal question: how tall are you?
170.
What would that be in feet and inches?
Ooh.
I would check.
Because when you're talking about a lot of problems, and especially glandulars, when I start seeing thyroids and adrenals and maybe even parathyroids and stuff, I'm going to immediately go up to your pituitary.
Yes.
See, so that's what I want to think too, because a lot of people, because when you mentioned you're working on your thyroid, but you never could get that. So again, when you see that type of case, when you're working on your thyroid or any separate endocrine gland, and it's not moving, then the pituitary is definitely the little fella that's sitting on it.
That's what came up in my iridology years ago.
All right, good.
And I've been doing many rounds of the herbs and everything. I'm 5'7".
Oh, okay. So not too bad. Any insomnia, anything like that?
No, not really. Okay. Not anymore. I used to have a lot of it.
Okay. I'm just showing you how we work when we're drawing pictures, because as healers, we're all looking at where the weaknesses are, and we're going to take that weakness in those tissues, and we're going to get rid of the weakness, and we're going to replace it with strength. You know, and the strength of a cells are structure, function. So everything basically is done by the cell. The interstitial spaces around all the cells are just blood and lymph. So you've got kitchen, bathroom taking care of your cells. And cells, of course, are what's genetic. So you can remember cells that are sitting there going, you know what, I don't think I remember what I really am. Am I a pituitary or what am I? Well, we can wake that up.
Yeah. Should you, so I decided to go on so we live this, we completely changed our lives. We live outside we live close to the jungle. We're completely in nature, back to the place we're building we're not building a resort. We're building something that is very connected and back to the roots kind of style.
I bet.
So our lifestyle is already very healing but I still I'm going on the fruits basically because I feel better. It's like I do better in the gym. I work through my emotional stuff. It's like everything comes to the surface. But is there anything except the herbs that you would recommend for me to if I want to boost the pituitary a little bit?
Okay, so generally, when I have a pituitary weakness in front of me, I will use the herbs for that.
Yeah.
For the pituitary gland and a glandular for, let's say, the parathyroid. Let's say you're in depression. Mm-hmm. Depression, a lot of people don't understand depression. They think it's a mental health problem. It's not a mental health problem. It's a calcium problem. It's a parathyroid related problem, especially these poor ladies that have postpartums. You know, and some of the ladies that went so off the wall having so many kids, they lost their teeth, they lost their bones, they ended up killing their kids, all kinds of things like that. And the sad thing is this is very fixable and very easy to deal with right before the lady gets to that position. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with males. I mean, these glands, your endocrine glands control literally everything. And so when the parathyroids are down and your pituitary controls them all. So I'm always teaching my students to take a little look upstairs here. Height is a little bit of an example. If you're, say, below 5'7", as a female or male, you're definitely dealing with pituitary. If you're over 6, you're also dealing in pituitary. And then women that have menstruation problems, they can't conceive, can't carry to term, all pituitary.
Because when they put me on the steroids, my period disappeared, and it hasn't really came back.
You need estrogen for that. So they slammed your adrenals even more, because if you take it, and that's an old saying I created years ago, if you take it, your body quits making it. And that's just for the end all for steroids, hormones, maybe even neurotransmitters, but definitely for digestive enzymes. If you take digestive enzymes, after a while, you'll be, I can't digest. You can't take these things. You have to make your cells perform and do their structure function. And that's what the botanicals are for.
Yeah, because I felt when I started taking like day 2 on those steroids, I felt like a human that I've never felt like. But for the first time, I could be up from morning to evening and do my work without napping like 3 times. And I felt great. And I knew this can't be real. This can't be real. Yeah. And then my period disappeared. And I came off it after about 1 or 2 years.
They'll come back. I mean, once you start, you'll know when your pituitary is running because your period will come back. And so you can, I don't know whether you like it or not, but that is what happens. And I've seen so many ladies, like even in their 50s, who we've gotten detoxed, you know, got hydrated and got their kidneys filtering and got their lymphatic systems moving, all the inflammation out of their bodies, and boom, you know, they become, you know, back again. So they're just, you know, the more acidic your body gets, the more suppressive that cell function is, the more mucus in the body, the more congestion, you know, all this stuff suppresses the function. And the sinuses, you got the pituitary and the pineal, that's your sleeping gland. And since you had that early on. Now, just to show you how we think, pituitary, when we see this kind of weakness in the head, we know that it hooks right to your transverse colon. And you asked me about gut health. So you look at the GI tract, particularly the colon, there's it's almost like an electrical panel that all along the GI tract, there are nerve endings that pick up the electricity out of the foods you're eating and send them where they're going. People don't realize the difference between that because you absorb current, electricity. And when you're eating living foods, they're actually, that current is being exchanged as it passes through your digestive tract. And you can tell the difference because none of these foods are constipating. All the dead foods, grains, dead animals, cheese, they're extremely constipating. They're not electrical. So everything becomes sticky and gluey. You have to wipe your butt several times when you eat that kind of food. You know, that's the kind of stuff you don't eat.
Yeah.
But that brings me to your transverse bowel and the possibility of you having some colon issues with that transverse colon. And
I think I do.
Yeah. And then as you look at the flexures in your iridology, because if you have a thyroid, the chances of having a parathyroid is there. Then you're going to look at your flexures because that's what starts to prolapse. Uterine prolapsing, flexures prolapsing, everything starts to prolapse when you have this type of weakness because connective tissue starts to suffer. And the body starts stealing calcium out of that when you're eating these acid-ash foods. Your body rips calcium in there. So what you see when you eat meats and grains and beans, you see varicose veins coming, spider veins, petechia bruzinese, you got aneurysms, hernias, hemorrhoids. This is all parathyroid. This is a lack of calcium utilization. And then your depressions come in. So all fixable stuff, though.
Yes, it is. It's so much fun. Okay, so let's dive into the gut. So we chose to, I mean, it's all connected, right? And we already had some pre-talk before we went live about what's going on, and we will discuss all of that. But I would like to do it from a point of view where people say like, oh, I have digestive issues, I have IBS, I have SIBO, I have this and that. What would you say when people come with that kind of diagnosis?
Well, we get all that, you know, from colon cancer all the way to Crohn's and, you know, like you said, IBS and things like this. So you have to, there's two parts to the colon and the small bowel. Don't forget the small bowel. Small bowel is 22 feet. The colons are roughly 5 feet. So most of the absorption of nutrients is from the small bowel. Some in the earlier parts, like microtraces and stuff of the colon, but then you start getting rid of the water and you start forming stool after that, right? So you have two things to consider. Some foods act like glue, right? And we're well known about gluten. Gluten is a glue, right? So we know that if you ever had art class in high school or college and you made paper mache, you probably used white flour and water and made this paste that makes these hard rocks that can throw through a drywall. I mean, that's, you know, this hardens like a rock. Well, a lot of people eat white bread, and there's an old saying in our field, the whiter the bread, the sooner you're dead. But what that is this is all gluten and a glue. So you eat a sandwich. So what you're doing is you're taking toxic, decaying meat, and you're locking that meat along your bowel wall with the glue of gluten. So now you get this mucoid plaque, this black plaque, thick on the wall. And there's plenty of pictures. I got tons of pictures here. Jensen put pictures all through his book. Because when you detoxify, this black plaque comes off the wall. That's easy. Fruits will take that off the wall. Vegetables, all raw, takes that right off the wall. But here's the big one. In the wall. So if I do a colonoscopy or an endoscopy, I'm running a camera down or up, right? So I'm running a camera up a garden hose, right? Now,
Yep.
I can't see on the outside of the hose. I can't see what's in the wall of the hose. I can only see through the opening of the hose, and if there's any herniations or tumors or whatever, polyps on the inside. I can't see the outside of the wall. I can't see interstitially, which is malabsorption. I can't see any of that. Iridology is the only science that shows you the prolapsing, the shape of the GI tract. It shows you interstitial, what I call constipation lymphatically. And that's the big one. That's where all the inflammation actually comes from, is interstitial lymphatic constipation. And you can see that in someone's eye. And it is just stagnation of the sewer system within the wall of the small and large bowel. Well, that blocks your absorption of nutrients. But and of course, that also then takes the calcium out of the structure. Then you get herniations called bowel pockets or diverticulums. You get a prolapsing. All this starts happening. You start getting spasticity where the colon goes down real small and then back up real big, just on and on and on and on. So there's only one road to go down. You're taking people down that road. There's only one road to go down and get all this fixed up. And a little help with the glands and understanding that and working with the pituitary if that's the case, but the parathyroid, excuse me, but working in the way you guys are, you can revitalize the body. But some people's colons, how bad it is. I've been a physician, a naturopathic physician, 50 years. Back when I first started in the early 70s, I had a surgeon friend that only saw one healthy colon in his entire life, and he was about 60. And he said, I saw there was a 4-year-old dissection in Harvard when I went to school, and he said, she had a perfect colon. She said, I've never seen one. So that is, 40, 50 years ago. So by now, the gut health is so bad in humans. And then the kidneys, as we talked about earlier, I'm a kidney freak. Those are unbelievable. Not filtering. The kids are in deep trouble with their kidneys and adrenals. And that's your sewer system. Your colon is how you get rid of digestive waste that you're not absorbing or using, right? But how do you get rid of the waste from that chemistry that's being used, that's being absorbed in the body? You know, all your good chemistry that you absorb, if you do, and your body, your cells are utilizing it, you know, your ATPs and all this stuff like this. And you have all the movement of muscle. You have lactic acid when you move muscle. You've got uric acid. You got all these acids in the body that have to come out. And what system takes them out? And the medical community has no idea. So they say that your body dumps all your waste back in your kitchen. How many people poop in your kitchen? Nobody I know. And I used to build custom homes on the side for people, right? And I've never built a home in my entire life where I didn't put a bathroom in it. So it's common people can understand that wherever you have eating going on, you're going to need a bathroom. This is true with cells. You have 100 trillion cells in your body that's eating. How do they go to the bathroom? And that's called the lymphatic system. And your kidneys are the eliminated, with the skin, are your eliminative organs of this system. So when you're working with your people, you're going GI tract, definitely gut, and right on up to the kidneys. You're working on all the eliminative organs. That fixes everything else. It's funny how that is. When you have stagnation, you remove the stagnation, everything starts rebuilding, repairing, and especially on Thai fruit.
Yes. What would you say SIBO is?
Same thing. You know, basically all these have all the roots in their lymphatic systems, every one of them. Anytime you see a swelling, an inflammatory response, an edemic response, that's always acid, in my opinion, always acidosis. I mean, we can go to the other end of chemistry, alkalosis, but if you want to keep it simple, we're still dealing in acidosis. And even in alkalosis, when you have these high fungal areas, and there's a lot of thought out there that all fungus kills cancer and all this, that's not true at all. This is a world of chemistry that we deal with, and acids are the corrosive side of that. And so every cell in your body produces acids. If you don't get, let's say you go out in the gym and you work out really good, you have a good workout and you're going, yeah, baby. Oh, I feel a little stiff. The morning you wake up, you feel a little stiff. That's because you created a lot of acids your body didn't get rid of. And the longer you're stiff and tight, the more your body's holding those acids in. Well, those acids then start bumping against the cells. And that's when you start getting atypical and then cancer cells, that sort of thing. You know?
Simba, do you have any questions?
Yeah. So I had when we did your training a couple of years ago, I had a lot of aha moments, because when I was up until I was 16, I was having a lot of swollen lymph nodes. I was getting colds. I was getting flus. And then they said, oh, we have to take your tonsils out. And, long story short, they did. Yeah, they did. And it took me 2 years. And then I started to lose the hair, right, on my head. Yeah. And it took me many years to make that correlation. I was like, no, it's hereditary. I started losing early because my grandfather, I just made up all these stories. And now when I did the training, I started to look back. I was like, it was like more or less on the day when I did the surgery, like 2 years later, I was like, what? A little space, next. Yeah. And it was just opening up and coming off, right? And I remember in the training, you said something like, it was a very funny saying, you could grow hair on a bowling ball.
What was that I used to say? You grow hair on some bowling ball or something.
You're not a good healer if you don't grow hair back on.
Exactly, but it's true. Because I tell you what, when you look at, so you're only two sides of chemistry. And so it's real easy to understand which side of chemistry takes off hair, because just look at the cancer patient that went through chemotherapy. Chemotherapy has a pH of below 2. So that's hotter than the actual acid that destroyed the cell in the first place, believe it or not. So when you look at that and you realize that the more acidic you get, you can't even grow hair. Some women can't grow hair on their legs. Hair won't grow on their arms, things like that. You'll see that. That's highly acidic, highly acidic. And the same thing here. But what was the clue? Tonsils, remember, draining. So now somewhat compromised in draining the brain, but keep going, because you got all of this. You got your axillaries. You can go down your spine with your neurolymphatics, but you want to get hair. So for both of you, upper circulation, and I do brain and nerve.
Yeah.
Because now for you particularly, because neurons, and you're right in Neuron City, perfect formula. I had a gambler come up to me in our class. I don't know if it was a class you have, but this gambler came up to me, and she's a female. She came up to me and she said, I want to thank you for making your formulas. And I'm going, well, thank you. I love making formulas, right? She goes, no, I really want to thank you. And I go, okay. She said, no, I'm a gambler out in Las Vegas. And she says, I win all the time. She says, your circulation and brain and nerve, she said, unbelievable. She said, I had people watching me. She said, I had a guy come up to me. He said, what's your edge? She says, what do you mean? He said, I've been watching you. You're winning all the time. He says, what's your edge? These herbs. He said, you think he'll make some herbs for gamblers? But she already was using them. So that's what I'm saying. You can open up pathways that you've never opened up before. You can become awake like you've never been awake before. You can get beyond those emotions and beyond the thoughts and get into consciousness. And that's where you have a beautiful place to become consciousness. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think my case was really, I got scared, to be honest, with the drainage, because I had a lot of sinusitis as a kid, and ear inflammations and all this. And when it started to come out, I remember you said, just remember how much is there in the head. But when it started to come out, I was like, yeah, you remember, right? So it was just like and it was kind of COVID times and all this, right? So it's not the right time to sneeze. Like, it's not really appreciated. But I was sneezing like in the morning, like 20, 30 times, and just one after another, and just
Merry Christmas.
It was just like a big bucket coming out.
And you wonder why you have no hair. See, and that's the thing. You take all that congestion coming out of these interstitial spaces and coming out. That's what you want. You'll smell. When I went through my first detox, I started smelling. And I went, what? Remember that? I started smelling a pine tree, and I said, my God, I've been smelling by memory. Oh, I tell you, I was raised on dairy products because we were farmers. And I couldn't breathe either. Bam! Migraines, everything. Milk.
Yeah.
Dairy products. Who drinks milk after they're weaned? Humans. God. Humans have to refurbish themselves because humans have sunk pretty low. And there's a lot of people that keep saying that humans are getting dumber and dumber and dumber. So I think our group and all the healers are coming out and going to really turn all this thing around, because these poor children, these kids, whether you're in your teens, you're in your 20s, you've got serious kidney, adrenals, and lymphatic problems to start. The GI tract, a mess with these kids, serious stuff. I mean, I have young people that's already had their colons removed.
Yep.
And you just know, but when you've got a symptom, you want to find the truth as fast as you can. If you go to the medical community, your life could be in danger. I hate to tell you that, but I've been a physician and I worked years in hospitals, emergency rooms, heart work. I'm telling you, these guys just don't know. And everyone listening has a responsibility for their own journey. So you need to learn what makes your physical body healthy. You're only using it while you're here on the planet. So you need to figure out how you make this car, this vehicle, run good. Well, it's a type of fuel you got to put in it. And we're frugivores. The Homo sapien is not a herbivore. We're not horses and elephants and cows. We're not omnivores, dogs, hogs, and chickens. We're certainly not carnivores. We're frugivores. Proven. I'm about to come out with a frugivore book. You will not believe it. All the evidence. Of course, I teach physiology. I've got a physiology professor helping me with that chapter. We're going to have a kick-butt book on the frugivore of man, because some of these anthropologists went back 20 million years ago, looked at the teeth, the gut, found that man is totally a frugivore and always has been. So when you change your lifestyle to a predominant, it doesn't have to be all, but predominantly frugivore or fruit, you guys see what happens. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember a lot of people, well, I say a lot of people, myself included. I got caught up with the whole protein thing, because I come from personal training, martial artist, and what about the protein? And I'm losing my muscle mass, and the whole idea of I have big muscles, I can run fast, and I'm healthy. It's well, that's just what you see on the outside. That's why I started to realizing, what you see on the inside, you can't really tell by the outside appearance either, right? You don't really see the internal health. So you can get a lot of, can get cheered on by people around you. Oh, you look so good. You look so healthy. It's how do you know? Oh, because I see muscles. And it's but what's the quality of the muscles? I mean, that's not an indicator for health, I wouldn't say.
I've always said de-skin the average person is not a pretty picture. You might look good on the outside, but on the inside, let me tell you. And the strongest animals on the planet don't eat meat. The strongest animals on the planet eat veggies, but we are the second. An ape can rip a lion apart. I mean, an ape is a very strong animal. And unless you're been shoved up into the mountains like some of these mountain gorillas, your lifestyle is frugivore. And you see that more in the chimpanzees, but particularly in the orangutans. And a baby orangutan can rip a human apart. But when you pass a certain level of cleanliness in your detox, you feel your muscles. I alluded to that earlier. You'll feel your muscles or strengthen your muscles you've never had before. It's not from working them up and stacking them on. This is you've removed the obstructions to energy. And that's what detoxification is. Detoxification is just simple hydration. And in hydration, you get an anionic environment, and then everything starts cleaning, moving, and being eliminated. And that's what you're looking for. Most people are eating foods that create a cationic environment, which is highly acidic, corrosive, inflammatory environment. And then they wonder, and the calcium draws and everything from that environment, and then they call them diseases and everything else, and everybody's confused. No. There's only two sides of chemistry, and each side has its own effect on you. And you only have two fluids that control 100 trillion cells. That's blood and lymph. And one's a kitchen and one's a bathroom. And the bathroom is your main immune system. Your blood is not your immune system. So when you get all that down, and your kidneys are eliminative organs. So just to show you, when you pee in a jar, you want to see sediment in your urine. If you don't have sediment in your urine and your urine is clear, you're in trouble. You're walking down the road of tumors, cysts, everything else. And once you get those kidneys filtering, you pee, you'll see all that in there. It looks just like dandruff. It looks like the pimples or the tumors that Dr. Pimple Popper opens up. All this stuff, that's just acid lymph metals and cells, all this. Get all that cleaned out, the interstitial spaces on the intestinal tract clean out, absorption picks up, all the stuff you're getting off the wall, it'll come right off the wall like that. Now, we got herbal formulas for that, but also raw foods do that. And it cleans your wall off, it cleans, and they don't leave a residue. Your grains, all these type of crap foods, they leave residues on you. Well, anytime you leave a residue on your hiney, it's also on your bowel wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big thing. What would you say, like, because that's one of the avenues that I came in to start working with, let's call it adverse childhood events or traumas, that there's a lot of identity with having muscles, or I'm big, or I'm getting tired, or like that kind of wanting an instant gratification from the food you're eating, right? That they can't really see the detox process. And as soon as that starts to happen, I was like, but how long will it last? When do I get out of it? And it was kind of that, when you're like, I can talk about it now, but like when I was in that space or wherever, sometimes if I do a deep detoxification myself, I can notice that straight away. There's like kind of this wanting almost to go out and do something else, right? What would you say, like, for someone that's in that phase, what would be an indicator to continue and indicator to come out, kind of?
So I got a funny one for you. I was on a 10-day water fast. Second day out, I'm craving Reese's peanut butter cups. Third day, I'm going to kill for Reese's peanut butter cups. Well, I'm still doing good. Fourth day, give me a Reese's peanut butter cup, right? Excuse me. So I pulled into a convenience store here. But this is back in the 70s. Bought some Reese's peanut butter cups, had one or two of them, threw the rest away, and I didn't eat them since. When you start cleaning all these residues, chemical residues from some of these foods, and this is what the claim is that you can start inviting these memory patterns for that particular type of food. And so that makes sense to me. You have chemical residues from certain foods and stuff like that. And so when you begin to detox those type of residues out that never got out, one of the problems is when you eat certain foods, and these foods are going to be grains, beans, dead animal meats, I don't care, fish, chicken, beef, pork, rattlesnake, kangaroo, I don't care what, and dairy products. Those are your 4 top no-nos. There's nothing healthy about grains. They're definitely, if you sprout them, okay, now you got a plant, you can eat the plant. But before that, you got enzyme inhibitors, you have high phytic acid, you don't want to eat grains. They're not healthy foods. Beans, what's healthy about a bean? High proteins, packed too tight, enzyme inhibitors, high phytic acid, same thing. Nothing healthy about it. Everybody has to sit and let it soak for overnight or two, just so no, there's nothing healthy about foods like that. You want living, vibrant foods. If you want to be vibrant, then you want living, vibrant foods. This is a good friend of mine. He went real down on fruit. But look at that guy. Now, he's a raw foodist. No problem with muscles. No problem with any of that. At first, you might go down. The body's cleaning. It's not going to build you up. It's cleaning itself. Your body knows totally what it's doing. So it cleans itself. Then it rebuilds itself. But I say that, and I tell you, as we're regenerating people, we see the rebuilding process even while detoxification is going on. So it's pretty cool to see that. But in reality, you can understand that when in an acidic environment around cells, you can't expect to regenerate that environment because it's a corrosive environment. When you start, that's what detoxification is hydration and removing these acidic and high alkaline environments. And when you do, then the cell just perks right up, and then regeneration takes place. And then cells are not used to the consciousness of raw foods in most people. So when you're giving a food that has not been altered in its consciousness, you're taking what that food was created for, and you're taking it into the body. Well, That's how God works. You're absorbing and taking on the consciousness of that plant. Well, that could be burdock. It could be any herb out there that is designed to go to certain tissue and help it. Even the fruit. Fruit is designed for neurological tissue specifically. I can't regenerate spinal cord injuries on vegetables, only fruit. Yeah. And remember that latest study I brought out from Yale that the brain converts glucose to fructose. Why would, for us chemists and stuff, we're going, why would the brain convert a glucose, a simple sugar, into another simple sugar? It just happens that working with spinal cord injuries and all this for years, I can tell you that fructose is neurological. That's for neurons, not glucose. Fructose, these are the highest neural centers or energy centers of your body. Obviously, you want the highest electricity for those centers, obviously. And guess who's got them? Fruit. And typhoid is probably sitting at the very top of the world on that level.
Yeah, the fruit is amazing.
That's exciting.
So if we go back to the gut a little bit, what would you say with people who have gut issues, who say that they can't eat fruit, they can't eat certain fruits, because it feels like they are so acidic that they get a very high response, like initial response. Would you say that that's a detox symptom, or would you say that some
people, you're right on with this, very important. Some people are so inflamed, and right now the most a very popular problem is gastroparesis. That is paralysis of the stomach, and you can get to the point where you can't even do water and have that same experience you're talking about. You can't even drink water anymore. I've had cases where I had to spoon feed herbs, then swallow another spoonful. Swallow. That's how I've had to back some people up out of that hellhole that acidosis can bring in the gut, just like you said there. So you don't want to, if you're that inflamed, you want to use herbs. Like we have a stomach tea or slippery elm, marshmallow, mullein, anything like that to kind of cool all that down, right? Then maybe apple sauces with cinnamon in it. Don't use a bitter apple. Use a sweeter apple like Red Delicious or something like that. Stay away from oranges unless they're sweet as honey. Navels should be sweet as honey, and if they're not raised right anyway. So stay away from more of the acid hits. They're astringent, strong, pulling. You're going to feel that. You know, so stay with that and use teas to buffer that. But then digest in your mouth more, because you digest in your mouth just like you do your pancreas. Your stomach is your only acidic chamber, and humans have a very small stomach pouch for that anyway. So best way is to let the mouth get coated on that, and then it's already in the digestive mood. Watch your combinations. Do not combine fruits and vegetables. They do not combine together at all. Stay away from your protein, your acid ash foods. Your acid ash foods are your beans, your grains, your dairy products, and your meats. Now, acid ash foods means that everything is acid, and hydrochloric, not hydrochloric acid, but bicarbonate doesn't neutralize these acids, and only stomach acids. So you still have an acid ash food as it goes through the gut. And this is why the World Health Organization has said that protein is the #1 cause of colon cancer. What they didn't look at was the kidneys. Protein destroys your kidneys. Everybody, I work with Mr. Olympia and trainers of Mr. Olympias, and that's a field that is not good for a lot of reasons. I've been friends with a lot of trainers and what they're doing and taking, But I've had so much RA, prolapsing of muscles, blown rectums, all kinds of things like that in this field, and you can't do it. You'll lose your kidneys on protein. Look at the strongest animals on the planet. We were farmers, but we also raised horses. And I always used alfalfa hay for my horse, you know, because we ran them. We raced them. My sister trained them for barrel racing. And you want muscles on those. We didn't give them protein. That's inflammatory. We gave them stacked amino acids, which is alfalfa. And so I've got a muscles by nature formula for those that work out with no protein, but great amino acids and great muscle building material. Because it's just not more than amino acids. It's a whole package. And you want that package to have an alkaline hit on the body. You do not want that package to have an acid hit, because let me tell you, it isn't worth it when you get older.
Would you advise on fasting to clean out the colon?
You could. Well, okay. So what I would recommend is go on a raw food diet first. You know, if you're walking into this, they walk into your beautiful resort and everything. All right. So if they walk into, say, even my clinic, I'm going to start them out. I'm going to get them fruit in the morning, fruit at night, and a salad for lunch. Unless they're sitting there with a big tumor or it's MS, Lou Gehrig's, or a spinal cord injury, you're going on fruit and that's it. But if not, I'm going to bring you down slower, but then I'm going to get you moving faster as we get rid of the vegetables. And you'll tell the difference. And then in about 2 weeks, I tell you, go out and eat anything you want. Just have one meal, because I want you to taste and know what you've done in a couple of weeks on raw foods. And I'll tell you, that meal kicks you in the butt every time. You start to see what the food you've been eating really has on you.
Yeah.
Where you've been eating them all the time, you don't know. Try lifting up the body and get the inflammation out, and then go back and try to eat that stuff. And yeah, butt kicking. So I move slow that way, depending on the case.
Yeah.
Water fast, because you want to break stuff loose. Water, even though the universal solvent, I was having this discussion with the professor, because I believe water is known as the universal solvent. To be that, it has to be slightly on the acidic side. Well, most chemists call it neutral. But neutral, with 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 of oxygen, I don't think that makes that neutral. So I consider a little water just a teeny bit astringent. But when you're packing, you got someone so depleted, I don't put them on a water fast. I want to electrify them. I want to burn them on first. Get that bowel wall cleaned off a little bit. Get the kidneys opened up a little bit. Then you can water fast them all you want.
Yeah, we usually don't even do water fasts here. We do the grape juice.
Perfect. Ooh,
and watermelon.
Whew. Those are incredible fast. You can't put more power in your body than those foods right there. Watermelon, you say, oh, that's just watermelon. Oh, yeah? It's red, and red is aggressive. And watermelon can be very aggressive in your body on detox, no question. But then you're talking about packed grape juice. Oh, whoa. Great detoxing stuff.
Yeah, we usually go between the grape juice, the watermelon, or the master cleanse. So we don't usually go deeper than the master cleanse. Basically, it's probably because myself, I feel that it's very hard on the body, and that it's a bit too. It's like it's a bit too deep, too fast.
I would say if you're going to go on the Burls or whatever they call the lemon juice fast. It used to be the Stanley Burls diet, where they put a little maple syrup and a little pinch of pepper in there. But in reality, if you're going to do this, you want to get Myers lemon, and you want to get ripe Myers lemon off a tree. You don't want to go in your grocery store and get those lemons in the grocery store, because the pH in there is about 2. So you really want to get some really ripe Myers lemons if you really want to do this right. And you could slip a little honey if you wanted to, but at the same time, you're right on with that. Yeah. I've had Shania Twain. She went 18 days on lemons. Her husband at the time, Mutt Lang, went 27. I've done 30, but my clients have done, 35, 40 on lemons. And you got to be careful with your mouth, your teeth, because acids will suck the calcium right out of your body. So you use a pH paper, you can use bicarbonate, and kind of keep that. But getting your lymph system moving in your gums and everything, and making sure your saliva is alkaline is where you're going. And that's for you too, because of this. And the tonsils. You want to make sure your saliva is alkaline.
Yeah, and I can notice that, I remember you talked about it in the training, white coating on the tongue sometimes as well, that it's not pinkish, that wake up in the morning, I'm like, wow, it's looks like I brushed my teeth, but I haven't. I just thought it was saliva, but it's kind of this white coating that was covering the tongue, and I was like, oh. I
had one of Herbert Shelton's fasting clinics down here beside me years ago. It was called the Shangri-La, and it was, he had several in Texas and I think a couple in Florida. And in these natural hygienic fasting institutions, you would go in and they would put you on a water fast. Now, Fridays were cooked food day. So, but if you were on a fast, you had to stay with that. But every other day is raw foods. But when you went on a water fast, they used the tongue. And because as soon as you withdraw from food, your tongue starts turning, get coated. It gets coated white, green, black, and the darker, the more in trouble your gut is. Talk about gut health. Your tongue is just an extension of your GI tract. It's part of your bowel. So, when there's crap on that, the other side of that is real red and splitty. That's real bad too. That shows a lot of inflammation in the gut wall. So all those conditions you want to, get rid of. And of course, detoxifying, you want where that tongue is nice and pink when you don't eat for a day or two. Your tongue is still nice and pink.
How much would you say parasites and candida plays in? I remember when we did the training and I really went in and started to clear out parasites and candida, and I was getting strange cravings. I haven't had meat for years, and I was getting specific cravings, and we make fun of it here when people come here. There's like, oh, you're in the Instagram phase. They go on social media and they start to scroll food pictures, and it might be specific food pictures, like you said, specific memories they have, but they haven't eaten it for years, right? So there's no correlation. You're just like, what is going on?
To me, life is like the wheels of a clock. It's just all put together, and until you start breaking your chain of thought and desire, do you see that? Because generally you're chasing your thoughts and desires, and that's all you're doing. So your life in this world is generally one of just chasing rainbows. But when you want to wake up spiritually, you have to stop thinking. You have to stop chasing your desires. You got to do the Buddha thing, the desireless state, right? Doesn't mean you can't have anything. It means that you can't own it in a way that, this is mine. Oh, it's gone, and I'm all tore up. And that's even your mate. You stand alone on your journey. You're born alone, you live alone, and you will pass this world alone. So where are you going from here? And who are you if you're not the physical body? So those are the kind of things I used to love and then teach and, out-of-body travel. But health comes right in with that. So the masters, we all got together and saying, you know what? To help humans on this planet to wake up the best way, because I can't go and put on. I used to lecture all the time about spirituality and out-of-body travels. Yeah, not a lot of people understand that. Coming in the health way, this planet has an extreme need to get their health back because the humans have just lost their way badly. So this is a good backdoor way to come in, to open your consciousness up, to settle your mind down, to make those emotions strong. To make emotions strong, I'm going to make the adrenal glands strong, right? What about you? This is all self right here, thyroid, parathyroid. The weaker this is, the weaker you care for yourself. You don't love yourself, you don't care. So the stronger your thyroid is, the stronger that is, the stronger you are as an individual aspect of the divine. So it all plays a beautiful role in everyone's journey of awakening. Because out of that, you're either awakening yourself up from the ride or you're on the ride.
Very true. Very true. I really, really like that. That resonates a lot. So something that I noticed was that I didn't think I had what can I call it? A distorted food relationship. Like when you talked about desire, I was like, no, I'm eating healthy and I'm exercising. And once I started going on fruits and vegetables, I realized how much cravings I was having. Wow. That was using foods to subdue strong emotions, like you said, to get strong emotions. How much of that would you say you've seen, like from all your years working with people that say, oh, I can't do this detox because this, and, it's not for me, and I would really love to do it, but, I'm getting a headache now, and it's not really, like when they go into a healing crisis and they're not really there, and trauma kicks in. And
you've got all levels of humans, and there'll be some that touch truth and walk away from it and come back, touch it again, walk away from it. There'll be others that look at it and walk away, and there'll be others that embrace it. And so you have to realize there's going to be some that your information is going to be stored here in their awareness, but they might not be quite ready to engage in that level of self-discipline. These children of today are not raised with discipline. So someone that's not raised with discipline never has self-discipline. So self-discipline is a key component of life, you know, because you're the only one riding in your car. You know, you might invite some guests, but you're still the driver. So again, you have to wake up to that. You know, parasites, that's why I always deworm everybody initially. And the fungus, people are full of fungus like nobody's business. So why? Look at the starch they eat. Your body cannot consume starch and protein and keep up with it. One creates high alkalosis and one creates low acidosis. And so you can't keep up with that. And then people combine their protein and starches at the same meal. All right. So they don't digest at the same meal, different digestive enzymes, opposite. So now you got fermentation. Now you're inviting the fungal community in, and now you're inviting the bacterial community in, one for putrefaction and one for fermentation. And with the weak adrenals that most people have, they don't metabolize sugars well anyway, let alone simple sugars. And then here comes complex sugars, polysaccharides. Well, you know, people are just full of fungus from all of this. And so once you get them detoxed and you clean the fungus, that's all good stuff, you know. But you always have a certain level of fungi and a certain level of bacterium in your body. You want the bacterium because your lymph nodes are essential to have bacteria. If you don't have bacteria in your lymph nodes, if you understand what a septic tank is to your house, and you realize that all your waste go into this septic tank when you use your toilet one way or another, and then that bacteria in this tank or this area in the ground is going to break that down. What happens if you kill the bacteria in your septic tank or in that area? It's all going to back up eventually into your house. And that's why bacteria is essential to cleaning waste out of the body. And if you use antibiotics and kill them, that sets you up for some serious inflammatory issues.
So if you look at the gut, like you talked a lot about spirituality, right? What would you say from your experience? What's the spiritual meaning of someone having a blocked gut besides the obstruction alone, right? What could be a reason?
Good question. I can't say that I've ever thought about that. You know, not really. I've never thought about in terms of what part of the consciousness or what part would be, you know, blocked in that manner. Hard to say. You know, I mean, they're just, everything is just so related. I have no idea, you know, spiritually, because I separate you from your body. Oh, there's relationships and different chemistry goes different places. Copper likes kidneys, aluminum and Merck likes the brain cells. You know, you got chemistry that goes everywhere, but that's plants too. They have herbs. They're not for diseases. Man made that stupid, idiotic theory up. It has no beginning and no end to it. It's stupid. Everything is in real time. Everything has cause and effect to it. This is all karma. This is all cause and effect stuff. Whatever you put out, you get back. Well, it's the same thing in chemistry. Whatever you consume has a chemical response in your body. And you have to learn what your body is and how simple it is and how simple it works and how simple the chemistry is. If you try to complex things like the medical community, you just get lost. And so they're so lost that they're treating symptoms. Forget about the cause of something. They're busy treating symptoms. Well, when you treat symptoms, it's either going to kill you or make you worse. And that's the problem. You might have a temporary relief, and I can burn a tumor down. I can burn a tumor up real easy with radiation or a torch or something like that. Did that really cure anything? No, it has destroyed more tissue. So it's just it's an idiotic modality that doesn't understand anything, and they're so narcissistic they think they do. Now, if you need a good surgeon, I'm going to go medical. If I need to go to the emergency room, I'm going to go medical. But if I want to get healed from all my symptoms and stuff that I'm creating by not eating right, I'm going to go to your place. And that's what people need to know. They need to go to your places like this to get refurbished, to get rejuvenated, not to treat themselves, to get rejuvenated. This cleans all the tumors. It cleans all the inflammation, the swelling. It rebuilds your weaknesses. All injuries are rebuilt. You get your hair back. Your mind goes kaboom, and your energy goes out the roof. Mine's out the roof.
Yeah.
And I'm not 100% raw because if I do, it really goes out the roof.
So you eat the cooked food to stay in your body, so to say?
I like cooked vegetables sometimes to stay grounded because I'm always in a state of meditation.
Yeah.
I'm always try to be in the now as much as possible. So I'm always like buzzed because I just love life. I see everything coming from the same. And I've had experiences of that. So it's like so nirvanic that when you're back in a human body, it's, I mean, this world is just so, I don't know, constipated.
Repeating word.
Yeah. I read a quote the other day saying, having a body is like wearing a shoe that is too tight.
Thank you. You know, it's a little claustrophobic, to be honest with you. When you're traveling out of body, there's all different levels of creation. Then there's the worlds outside of creation that created creation. So, you know, I do these little spiritual insights now for Instagram and TikTok and stuff. And it's to bring out that awareness, you know, that there's so much more to things than these little closed experiences that you're having. You know, and that consciousness is the key. And when you quit identifying with creation, then you become the creator. Because that's where you came from. You know, every little piece that you see of life everywhere, where does it come from? Everything comes out of the one, because there's only the one. And so when the one is omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, that means there's nothing else. So, but when you have these experiences, and the more you leave these lower worlds of creation, everything starts becoming one again. You start seeing everything is coming from the same source. Nirvanic roles come into you, and then you start going higher into these worlds and learn what consciousness is. And holy crap, it's amazing. It's amazing. Then it helps you to survive better here.
Yes, and also I feel the health is the key to have a good experience here.
Me too.
Like to feel good and to be happy and to enjoy it. Otherwise, it's many years of being miserable.
And you're right on. And you know what? I'm an empath. So when you're suffering, I'm going to go, here, let me help you. Yeah. You know, that's me. That's who I am. I'm here to help. Because I'm 73. There'd be time I'm going to shuck out of here. Thank God. But before then, we got a lot to do.
Yeah, you're staying busy.
Just look at the visitors we're having. You guys, we're having a lot of visitors. I've been telling them on YouTube for years, get prepared, you know, and guess what's happening. So you have, as a human, you're going to have a certain amount of strength to deal with what's, you've been lied to. So, so it's going to be fun stuff, though, no matter what.
Yeah.
Creation is always changing, moving, growing. There's nothing like staying at home, being retired. What? Retired? Are you kidding? Everything is always ongoing and changing and alive. Mm-hmm.
So back to the adrenals. So from a personal perspective, I had so much stress. I collapsed and there was no sleep for 6 months. It was just a lot of adrenal stuff going on. So when I was detoxifying my body to get my health back, when I was fasting sometimes, I could feel that the adrenals were very stressed, but I could also feel like I was releasing old stress at the same time. A lot of people say that the fasting is very hard on the adrenals. Would you avoid fasting for someone who is very stressed? No.
If you got the self-discipline to do it.
Yeah.
If you're too stressed to have self-discipline, electronics around here go nuts.
Take two.
The adrenals sit on top of the kidneys.
Yeah.
And so you've got your people that crave sodium, salt all the time. Mm-hmm. That's your adrenals. Mm-hmm. And so your adrenals control the kidneys in a lot of ways, particularly the sodium-potassium pump and balance. That's interstitial balance for absorption through cell walls, things like this. So they play a huge role. When I look at the adrenal glands, they're so big and they do so many things. You've got 23 of them are mineralocortical steroids that are involved in mineral metabolism. You've got sugar metabolism. You've got your gonadals. You've got your neurotransmitters for the autonomic nervous system. Holy crap. I mean, those things do so many things for you, and they're sitting on the kidneys for no reason. So when you have kidney problems and you see kidney filtration problems, which means that you're seeing not that in your urine, you've got adrenal problems. Well, man has got such kidney problems and adrenal problems that almost everybody's chronic. So when you start going on a raw food diet, your kidneys start releasing, and they start relaxing. Your lower back starts relaxing because kidneys are your L4, L5 vertebrae. So everybody loses their lower back when the kidneys go, right? And everything down, ovaries, uterus, prostate, testes, everything else is down in that lower spine area. And of course, that's where everybody has all the problems there. So the adrenals are very key to work on with the kidneys. I've had people that I kept working with the kidneys, and when I gave them something for the adrenals, they started filtering. So this is a big thing in my students, how to filter through your kidneys and start getting all these acids and all this inflammation out of your body. And when you do, you can't believe it. So here's another big thing. In your detoxification, you're going to have people come in with high blood pressure, right? You know, it's the kidneys, right? Always the kidneys, swelling in the feet, everything in the day, right? Once you get all that out, not difficult, right? The adrenal glands are going to go, so that blood pressure, your systolic blood pressure, you're going to see maybe it was 120, maybe it was 130, maybe it was 118. Oh, now you're going to see it go down and down. And your people are going to be on raw fruit, and they're going, I'm just feeling so tired. Those are your real chronic adrenal weaknesses. No matter how electrical that fruit is, they're still feeling more tired, more tired. You check their blood pressure, both arms, 2 adrenals, you see that top number going down, 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 and they might end up in the 90s or 80s. That's their true genetic pass. Then you'll start to see with the fruit and everything, you start to see everything kicking up. The adrenals start kicking up. It's almost like they got to go touch that genetic blueprint.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they're on their way back up. I don't know what it is, to be honest with you.
But that's what I feel too. It's like people go, it's like they drop down into something and they need to hit the bottom, and then they go up. Whatever it is, it's like the fruits and especially the fasting. So we use a lot of the grape juice fasting and stuff too, because people also want to work with their emotional stuff and their nervous system stuff.
Grapes.
Yeah, it's amazing. And we also use the fasting to it's like you can use the fasting to address whatever it is that's going on an emotional and a spiritual level. The fasting will show you exactly. It's like the fasting will just give you a very quick overview of the major blockages, even though it doesn't matter if they are physical, emotional, or spiritual.
Sure. Well, there's the Catholic monks. Nobody really heard of them, but there's a certain special sect of Catholic monks that go out into the desert every year, 40 days, 40 nights, fasting and out-of-body traveling. You don't hear about those monks. And, you know, religions tend to quash the truth away for power and control again. No. Everybody's got to let all that go. Relax. Remember who's driving the car. Get in touch with yourself. Realize you're a piece of the divine and you're here to experience for the divine. You know, every experience you have, the divine's experiencing right with you. It's not like God's looking at you right with you because you come from that. So it's an interesting, and when you start growing into that and eliminating all your obstructions, both, like you said, physical, emotional. The problem is, though, the mind can't fix itself and the emotional body can't fix itself. You have to realize that. The mind is simply a programmable computer. It can't fix itself. Only you, the conscious being of the created of your embodiments, can control that. Yeah. So you have to learn to be detached. You can't do the psychologist way where you kind of work yourself through and have the primal scream. You know, it's primal scream back in my day. You know, you go back in time until you were birthed, and that brought what they call the primal scream, and people would have this release. You know, but The bottom line is just don't care anymore.
Mm.
That's simple. I mean, you don't have to go through all kinds of avenues of eliminations. All right, do the Buddha thing. You don't have to sit under the tree 17 years. You can get up and go, you know what? I'm tired of this. I just don't care anymore. Oh, good. Then you're free, right? And that's when you don't care anymore is when you set yourself free. And when you set yourself free, you can enjoy what you did before without it strangling you. Yeah. And this is true with everything, though. Thought. What about thought? You know, everybody's always thinking. How do you know what's out there in life if you're always thinking?
Yeah.
Because if you're always thinking, your attention is chasing your thoughts. Well, then, what do you think you are without thoughts? And that's what's cool, is helping people develop in your clinics like this, also their spirituality. But fruit will quiet that mind.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it really does.
Exactly. And will start peeking through. I love it.
So what would you say the connection with, so we work a lot with the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, to help people ground and to, you know, work their way out of dissociation and trauma and to heal the limbic system and stuff. How would you say that, what effect would you say that the fruits have on the nervous system?
All right. So I had an ambulance bring up one of my patients, and she was 43-year-old female, advanced MS. She brought her on a stretcher, chronically stiff, couldn't move her head to say hi, Robert, or anything. I put her, she's only about that thick, so I put her just on fruit. 2 months later, she's wheeling herself and feeding herself, sitting up, wheeling herself and feeding herself. So I said, honey, you're so thin, and I keep on horses, muscles, you know, right? So I want to give you some alfalfa. I want to give you some vegetables to kind of maybe put on more muscle. Her caregiver called me, and as soon as she went on the vegetables, she couldn't move anymore. I go, what? She can't move anymore. So I go, oh, back on the fruit. So I put her back on the fruit, and guess what? She started moving again. So when you compare that and then add that little study that just was released from Yale showing that the brain converts glucose, which is your main simple sugar of vegetables, into fructose, which is your main simple sugar of fruit, for neurons, then you really get why I put you on 100% fruit when you want nerve regeneration. But go to mydrmorse.tv and look at the push regeneration videos and take a look at what I've done with tissue and nerve, particularly nerve regeneration. Look at that toe. You've probably seen that toe already. That toe on there. They wanted to cut this toe off of this guy because they removed this callus and nothing left. It was just skin hanging, right? So we're going to whack that off. He's a diabetic anyway. No big deal. Well, they put him on vancomycin. Well, that threw him into kidney failure. His wife called me. I didn't know who she was. She said, my husband had kidney failure. I told her, get him out of the hospital and get him home. And 3 months later, he's got a brand new toe. Just on fruit and herbs. But the toe, the tendons, the muscles, the bone, everything regrew back.
Yeah.
Just on fruit only.
Yeah.
How's that possible?
Yes.
Maybe fruit is a lot more than man realizes, right? And remember the vertebrae. Humans are Homo sapiens. We are frugivores. That is our natural food of man, and you guys are sitting in the promised land of that.
Yeah, really. It's, I mean, the fruit is amazing.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Should come visit.
I will sometime.
All right. Yeah. Do you have more questions, Simba?
Pardon?
Well, we touched upon it and we talked a lot, but when we say supplements, right, like just to distinguish what we kind of mean, because, you know, there's herbal supplements, there's herbs, there is the tinctures, and people ask me a lot about supplements. Oh, I'm low on this, I'm low on that. And you already alluded to it, you know, like when you start to give the body something, it becomes, I think you said lazy. It stops to kind of do its work. Would you care to elaborate a little bit on that for the people? Because I know I have a lot of people that ask me this question over and over again.
Yeah. You know, I hate the word supplements, to be honest with you. And sometimes I use them, but I just cringe when I do, because growing up raw food, holistic thinking, holistic is not vitamins and minerals. The orthomolecular science is not our industry, even though it's in our industry. That's not who we are. We're holistic people, meaning that we don't take the chemistry out of foods and take it back and eat it. We eat the foods. You know, let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. The total Hippocratean oath there. Absolutely. So to me, herbs are our little friends. They're foods. In America, herbs are considered foods. In Germany, medicinos, you know, every country is different in that way. But they're foods. They're vegetables. If you have to say anything, some are roots, no question about it. But for me, when you realize that the medical community's theory on diseases holds no substance, the theory of disease is a Rockefeller baby and the thing with the germ theory. And when you start to understand how nature works with bacterium and funguses and stuff, you realize there's a cause for every effect. If you don't want H. pylori in your gut, don't eat dead animals. You know, that sort of thing. So when you look at herbs, they're foods for organs and glands. They're food. There's herbs for the liver. There's herbs for the heart. There's herbs for the blood. There's herbs for the lymphatic system. There's herbs for every body part out there. So what makes that special? Well, who created them? And why did the divine create that? And it's a guy, to me, creation's a hide and go seek. I always use that word because creation's a hide and go seek. So it makes a hide and go seek, then it puts itself down here and then it plays to go find things. So we're finding the herbs out, you know, that sort of thing, and learning about what tissues these herbs are for. Not diseases. That's a big mistake. Don't use the word diseases. That's a fallacy. You know, learn what's really going on in your body in real time in chemistry. Easy to fix it. You know, you got some advanced people you're going to have in your clinic. You know, keep going. That's all I have. Because you're either going to get well or it's your time to take a ride. And then you got to learn a little bit more about where you're going if you want to. If not, you're going to wake up in another world.
What would you say about Parkinson's?
Same. 100% fruit, berries, and melons. And I use circulation. I use brain and nerve. I go after the kidneys. Why anyway? So, for example, any of these have brain lesions. Most of them from MS or Gehrig's have like 4, 5, 6, 7 brain lesions. And you can see them in the eye in iridology. So you're getting up into the brain lesion, you're getting up into the cerebellum, mastoids, because most of them are involved in MS and all these sort of things. So you're getting up and repairing this. And what people don't realize is cells can repair themselves in the proper chemical medium. We're eating foods that are not creating a proper chemical medium. We're taking a medium that's pulling the calcium out of our joints and spine and everything and creating swelling and herniations and everything else. So once we get all of that out, cells just naturally want to rebuild themselves. That's just that's the divine. So it's just a natural phenomenon. It's beautiful to see. But you have to get rid of this concept of diseases and the whole 9 yards, you know, and go the route that you guys are doing.
All right.
It's been fun.
Yeah,
really
so much fun. Thank you so much for taking the time.
I love you guys. And having these healing centers, there was, I don't think it was, where was it? I don't think Indonesia, but I had a couple of missionaries come over years and years ago, and they adopted a little, I think it was Indonesia, but they adopted a little girl, Indonesian girl, AIDS. It was a little village just full of AIDS. And they adopted this little girl and they had AIDS. So I showed them and we cleaned the AIDS out of this little girl, right? And so they're back in this village and this minister of health visits this village or whatever it is. And he's looking and their little girl's playing with her and having fun. And the villages, half the children are dying of AIDS in this village. I can't remember where it was now. It's so many years ago. And the minister of health said, your little girl, you know, is playing and doesn't look sick. All these kids are sick. What's going on? And then they told him that we adopted her and she had AIDS and now we learned how to get rid of it. He said, you have Dr. Morse come over here. I'll give him the land to put a healing center up and we'll start healing people with AIDS. That never happened, but you know, what a cool thing. So I know at that time, at least the minister of health, and I thought it was Thailand, but then I don't remember.
Yeah.
These are some of the cool things. You have to realize everything is curable. They've got man so freaked out because you can't cure anything when your focus is wrong. You can't cure anything with the wrong theories if you don't understand how the body works. And one of the biggest problems is the lymphatic system. We talked about that before. So I invite all your guests to go to drmorse.tv and look up the lymph system and learn it. Because when you do, you're empowered. Now, you know you can control your health. You go to you guys, they'll take you in, get you healthy, teach you the facts, and then pretty soon you're walking out like a new person with tons of energy, tons of muscle power, and a new way of looking at life. And that, you cannot beat that.
No, you can't.
Well worth it. So I love you guys. If you need any help, let me know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
we
much.
truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Love you guys. Love all you guys listening. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, and if you are interested in coming to our place, you can find more out about us at livingwiththespirit.com. That's our website. Thank you so much. And see you soon, I hope.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.